Hello and welcome to IEMC Radio Podcast. Today, February 18th, let's explore some of the top news headlines.
Okay.
Grabbing attention around the world, we've got quite a mix from political developments to economic policies and even a touch of international intrigue.
Sounds good.
You ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. We'll start with some somber news coming out of Nigeria. Chief Edwin Clark, a prominent figure in Nigerian politics, passed away at the age of 97.
Oh, wow. That's a long life.
Yeah, this is a significant loss for Nigeria.
They imagine.
Clark's career spanned decades. He collaborated with both military and civilian administrations, even serving as Federal Commissioner of Information at one point. His experience and insights will be missed.
For sure. His passing will definitely leave a void in the political landscape there.
No doubt. Now, shifting gears to a story that's tragically impacted the Nigerian community abroad. We have the fatal stabbing
of
Kwaham Babatunde, a former footballer in Dublin, Ireland. This incident really highlights the challenges and, unfortunately, the dangers that individuals can face when trying to rebuild their lives in new environments. Babatunde had a complex past, a promising football career, followed by legal troubles in Italy, and he was working to start fresh in Ireland. What started as a simple seating dispute at a club escalated into a violent altercation that ultimately took his life.
So sad.
It's truly heartbreaking to see such potential cut short in such a senseless way. The details of the incident are just grim. A masked assailant, multiple arrests, even a suspect caught trying to flee to Liverpool.
It's a reminder that, even as we celebrate these stories of resilience and second chances, we also need to acknowledge the very real vulnerabilities that exist, particularly for those navigating unfamiliar territories.
Absolutely. Now let's turn our attention to Niger Republic. Where new immigration restrictions are causing a stir. The government is barring entry to Nigerians who are only using ECOWAS passports.
Interesting.
This is directly tied to Niger's recent withdrawal from ECOWAS. Following the military takeover, these new restrictions are adding another layer of complexity to an already tense situation.
I bet.
Cross-border traders and commuters who rely on those ECOWAS passports are now facing significant difficulties. And there are even reports of potential extortion at border crossings.
Wow.
It's a developing situation with a lot of uncertainty.
Sure.
Some traders claim things are continuing as normal, while others are worried about increasing restrictions down the line. Definitely something to keep a close eye on.
Yeah.
Now let's hop across the Atlantic. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a reciprocal tariff policy that's making waves. This policy aims to match tariffs imposed by other countries on U.S. goods. Essentially, if another country slaps a tariff on a certain American product, the U.S. will hit back with an equal tariff on a similar product from that country.
Gotcha.
Trump's argument is that this levels the playing field for American workers and businesses, ensuring fair trade practices and preventing other countries from taking advantage of the U.S. economy.
Makes sense.
He specifically called out countries with VAT systems, arguing those systems are even more detrimental to U.S. interests than tariffs.
Interesting.
This policy has the potential to significantly impact global trade, particularly with nations that have traditionally enjoyed favorable tariff rates when exporting to the U.S. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
For sure.
Back in Nigeria, there's controversy brewing around spending within the presidential amnesty program. A Sahara Reporters investigation highlighted that a staggering N58.2 billion was spent in 2024 on the reintegration of transformed ex-eligents.
Wow.
The Amnesty Office has acknowledged the N65 billion budget for the program, but disputes the claim that all of it was solely dedicated to ex-militant reintegration. They've emphasized their commitment to transparency and accountability, pointing to the Open Treasury portal as the source of their financial data. However, this discrepancy between the reported spending and the Amnesty Office's explanation raises valid questions about the program's efficiency and oversight. Transparency is absolutely crucial when dealing with such large sums of public funds.
You're right, especially when it comes to tackling these complex issues in the Niger Delta region. Accountability and effective resource allocation are vital for achieving any meaningful progress.
Speaking of security, Amotekun, the Southwest security outfit, has been in the news for its recent raid in Ondo Forest. They apprehended 114 individuals, most of whom were reportedly of northern origin. This operation reflects the ongoing security concerns in the region. Amotekun stated that these individuals were unable to provide any valid reason for being in the forest, which raised suspicions of potential criminal activity. Adding to these suspicions, they also seized locally made firearms and other weapons during the raid. Interestingly, Ondo's Hausa community has expressed support for the government's actions, indicating a shared desire for peace and security within the state, regardless of ethnic background
That's a significant detail. It suggests a level of community collaboration and a unified front against criminal elements, which can be really powerful in addressing security challenges.
Now let's shift our focus to a concerning incident in the U.S. A man in Miami shot a father and son, allegedly believing they were Palestinian.
Oh no.
This act of violence is deeply troubling.
It is.
It reflects the disturbing rise in anti-Palestinian sentiment in the U.S., particularly following the recent Israel-Gaza war.
Right.
The suspect reportedly said, "I saw 2 Palestinians," before shooting, which is just chilling.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder of the dangers of prejudice and the urgent need for understanding and tolerance.
Definitely, this incident also highlights the broader issue of hate crimes. Targeting specific ethnic or religious groups, it underscores the need for proactive measures to combat prejudice, promote interfaith dialogue, and ensure the safety and security of all communities.
And finally, we turn to Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the Director-General of the WTO. She's issued a powerful call to action for African leaders, urging them to shift away from relying on foreign aid.
Oh, okay.
Her message is all about fostering a mindset change.
Uh-huh.
She believes Africa should focus on attracting investment and mobilizing its own vast resources to drive economic growth and development.
Makes sense.
She points to the example of $250 billion in pension funds that are currently invested outside of Africa,
Wow.
as well as the need for African nations to gain greater control over their own mineral wealth. It's a bold vision calling for a more self-reliant and empowered approach to development.
I like it.
It really challenges the traditional narratives around development in Africa.
It does.
She's also advocating for the recapitalization of African development banks to fund key projects within the continent, further emphasizing the need for intercontinental solutions, and a departure from dependence on external aid. It's a message that's resonating with a growing sentiment of self-determination and economic independence that we're seeing across Africa.
Yeah, it's a call for a paradigm shift, moving away from relying on external aid and embracing a more proactive and self-driven approach to economic development. Yeah, it's inspiring to see. Such a strong call for self-reliance coming from within Africa itself.
I agree. And what strikes me is how many of these stories today, despite their differences, touch on some common themes: security concerns, economic justice, and the need for effective leadership in navigating these complex issues.
You've hit the nail on the head. These aren't just isolated incidents. They reflect broader trends that are shaping our world today. And I think it's crucial for us to consider how these issues are interconnected, how events in one corner of the world can have ripple effects felt far and wide.
For instance, the tragic stabbing of Kwame Babatunde in Dublin sheds light on the complex realities of immigration and integration. His story reminds us that behind the headlines, there are real people,
Right.
with their own unique journeys and challenges.
Absolutely. And by understanding those individual stories, we can start to grasp the larger societal forces at play. In Babatunde's case, he was navigating a new country, a new culture, trying to find his footing after facing setbacks in his past.
It's a reminder that the path to a new life is rarely straightforward. There are systemic hurdles, personal struggles, and sometimes tragically unforeseen dangers.
Let's consider the controversy surrounding the presidential amnesty program's spending. This story brings together issues of economic inequality, security concerns, and government accountability.
Exactly. It raises questions about how resources are allocated, the effectiveness of programs designed to address social inequalities, and the importance of transparency in how public funds are used.
And this story also underscores the challenges of achieving lasting peace and stability in regions that have long grappled with economic marginalization and historical grievances.
And these challenges are further compounded by incidents like the Amatukun raid in Ondo forests. While the operation was justified on security grounds, it also raises important questions about profiling, interethnic relations, and striking a balance between individual rights and collective security.
It's a reminder that security measures, while often necessary, should always be implemented with a deep respect for human rights and due process.
I think it's also crucial to acknowledge the potential for bias, both conscious and unconscious, to influence decision-making, particularly in situations where security concerns are heightened.
You're absolutely right. We can't overlook that factor. And this brings us back to the deeply disturbing story from Miami, where a father and son were shot, simply because the perpetrator believed they were Palestinian.
This incident underscores the devastating consequences of prejudice and the urgent need to address the root causes of hate.
It's a tragic example of how fear and misinformation can fuel hatred and violence.
And it highlights the critical importance of promoting tolerance, fostering understanding between different cultural and religious groups, and actively combating prejudice in all its forms.
Education, empathy, and open dialogue are absolutely essential in building a more just and inclusive society, and those same values are at the core of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's message to African leaders.
Her call for a shift away from aid dependency is ultimately a call for empowerment. It's about recognizing Africa's vast potential and taking ownership of its own development trajectory.
It's about moving beyond outdated narratives and charting a new path forward, one that's rooted in innovation, collaboration, and a belief in Africa's own capabilities.
Her vision resonates with the growing sentiment of self-determination and economic independence that we're seeing across the continent.
It's a vision of a future where Africa is defined not by its challenges, but by its possibilities.
It's a powerful vision, and I believe it's one that many, both within Africa and globally, share.
It's a vision that can be realized through collective effort, strategic partnerships, and a steadfast commitment to sustainable and inclusive development.
And that brings us to the crucial role of leadership.
Leaders who are bold enough to challenge the status quo, embrace innovation, and prioritize the well-being of their people above all else.
Leaders who are willing to invest in education, healthcare, and infrastructure, creating opportunities for all citizens to thrive.
And leaders who recognize the interconnectedness of our world, working collaboratively to address global challenges and build a more just and equitable future for everyone.
We need those kinds of leaders, not just in Africa, but all over the globe. Leaders who understand that genuine progress isn't measured by economic growth alone, but by the well-being of all people and the health of our planet.
Well said. These headlines, while varied in their subject matter, ultimately point towards a larger conversation about the kind of world we want to create.
It's that recognition of our interconnectedness that's so vital. The challenges we face, climate change, economic inequality, social injustice, they don't stop at any border.
Exactly what happens in one part of the world inevitably impacts others, and realizing that should empower us to be more mindful of our choices, to advocate for policies that promote sustainability and justice, and to hold our leaders accountable for creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
I think that's a powerful point to end on, the reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the future. Even amidst the complexities and challenges, there's always space for hope and action.
Absolutely, by engaging with these issues. Through informed discussions and collective action, we can work towards a more just and sustainable future for everyone.
Thank you for listening to today's top news headlines on IMC Radio and Podcast.